It looks like we are live. What is going on? So this is Real Estate Game Changers, and we've got AJ Mida, John Mikesh, and Lars Hedenborg on here. And we're going to introduce ourselves here in just a second to give you a little bit of a context. You know, why are we doing this? We bring a unique views of the business world, and we've sort of led our lives and businesses down different paths. And we think this is going to be a fun thing, and we're going to try to keep up with this every week. Let me start off by introducing who I like to call the youngest OG that I know, AJ Mida. AJ, just tell us a little bit about your background in real estate. You know, the purpose. I guess we'll get into the purpose of this show later, but a little bit on your background, and then we'll go over to John.
Yeah, so my real estate background, just been licensed now a decade, which is crazy to think. A whole decade as a licensed agent. So I got licensed back at the end of 2012, and I got into real estate because I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad when I was in high school. And growing up, I'd say lower middle class, what I saw in that book was an opportunity to build wealth, to create residual income so that I could eventually have freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom. And at the time, I was running a painting company, a small painting company in North Carolina. And then I got the book Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and that showed me that you could be an entrepreneur while being a real estate agent, and that really appealed to me. So I got my real estate license, thought I was just going to be making all this money as a real estate agent, and then I'd be taking that money, investing it in real estate, you know, maybe apartment buildings, commercial strip centers, things like that, single family homes. And that was going to be my residual income. And what I discovered was it was a lot harder than I expected. And once I did figure out the game, I realized that after all the time you're putting in, all the hours and the energy, and quite honestly, after lifestyle inflation and expenses, there isn't really that much time left over, capital left over, and energy left over to invest in real estate at a high level if you're selling real estate at a high level. So I got to the point where I was running a team, doing well, and just kind of looking for that next step. But I got licensed as an agent for freedom, and I'm happy to report now I've achieved that, and it's been awesome. So real estate's been a huge blessing to me, and it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. John, give us a little bit of an intro. I tried to think of a cool name for you. I'm sure that the cranky New Yorker side will come out of you from time to time as we kind of lean into these topics that we're certainly not going to agree on all of the stuff we go through. John, but a little bit on your background.
Well, I didn't have a nice, beautiful plan when I approached this industry like AJ had. I really didn't have many options. I was actually walking to, my mom had been managing a real estate office, a small boutique in New York for a number of years, basically like the whole time I was growing up. And I found myself back at mom and dad's house in my early 20s and needed to borrow mom's car. So I walked a couple miles to her office. And in the process of doing that, got into a conversation with her broker who eventually welcomed me into the world of real estate as we know it. I did fairly well out of the gate. Grew up in a small town in New York, just got started in real estate there, knew a lot of people, was real hungry. Didn't really know how much of an asset that was at the time. I was the youngest person in my office by over 30 years. Everybody else was in their mid to late 50s or older, which was kind of a crazy environment. But ultimately, I got started in New York, moved to North Carolina, got beat up a little bit in real estate with the 2008 market recession and all of that stuff. But in the process of those challenges, figured out a couple things, was fortunate to get coached by a lot of great people, yourself included, Lars, and built a successful real estate business for myself, built the overflow into a successful team with Remax, and then ultimately, went on to build a brokerage of my own and kind of just continued to do all the things that people told me to do. I got real tired though. I got real tired of just some of the pain points in this industry. And I'm sure we'll get into that at a later point and like what came out of that. But this is a tough business, man. And I think we're going into another season where for a lot of agents, that's going to be their reality. So hopefully they'll get some value out of these three knuckleheads and what we've been able to do and accomplish in real estate. And hopefully we can save you guys from going down some of the wrong paths that we went down.
Awesome. I'll give the 60-second version of my background. I came into real estate kind of as an investor, but I had a corporate job. So I left a pretty cozy corporate job before real estate. got in exactly, in hindsight, 3 months exactly before the market shift in my market. I mean, inventory went, I'm talking straight through the roof, the middle of 2007 in our market, and just put my head down, ignored the headlines. Our roster went from 15,000 agents, and we're all relatively in the same market when we were selling homes. We've all since exited production and sort of, achieved the three mountains that we talk about that we'll get into here in a minute. But I just put my head down and I did the work, and I got really busy as a solo agent and just built leverage and systems, and sold a lot of homes, and thought there was like true freedom at the end of it, but there wasn't a pile of gold at the end of any real estate production rainbow, which I realized only in the last few years, as cranky as I was about admitting it, and I'm sure we'll have some good conversations about that. And then 10 years ago, I started the coaching business, and so we'll have unique vantage points about all that stuff, guys. Before we get back to the agenda, we have to talk about game changers, how the name even came to be. I'll tee up. I want to get your perspective on it. So the three of us are business partners in an interesting kind of way, and these guys know that the term game changers is just overused, like overplayed, especially in the real estate industry, where like someone will say like, man, I have you seen this new lead source? Like, this is a game changer. And it's like, okay, let's talk about it. Has it really changed the game? Like, have you sold any homes? I haven't sold any homes yet, but it's a game changer. It's gonna change the whole game. So the reason, it was almost a joke, the reason this came to be known as Real Estate Game Changers, we started a Vox channel and just started like brainstorming, what could we call this movement, that we're thousands of agents that are now kind of joined us in this movement. And any comments on the game changers?
What's a Vox channel? I don't know. Maybe our listeners don't know what that is.
Yeah, so it's just a walkie-talkie. Voxer is the name of the app, and we probably Vox 20 times a day on that thing. Yeah, so that's how the name would be.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because every time we heard real estate or just game changers in general, like automatically you're like, oh, sure, like kind of brush it off, and it almost would discredit whatever like someone was talking about, because it got to that point of just being such a funny inside joke of, especially Lars specifically, how much he hated the term game changers. So I think in Vox one day I just put, how about game changers, kind of as a joke, and I think you guys were like, that's actually pretty good, let's do it. So we should share that story more often, because a lot of people are probably thinking, oh yeah, game changer, just like we did, and we're over here just laughing about it because we think it's so funny. But it's also so fitting to what we're doing now, really, because it is a game changer, a true game changer.
Yeah. So AJ, let's transition. Why real estate game changers? Why are we at this point in our business growth journeys? And you guys will figure out how we approach business and all of that. But why real estate game changers, specifically this channel, this show? What are we looking to achieve by coming together and putting out this content?
Yeah, so for this channel specifically, Real Estate Game Changers, what I was hoping to accomplish, and I think we kind of align on this, is that we wanted to create really a show, being this live show now, and also a YouTube channel and podcast off of it, where we could just provide transparent and real, raw training, coaching, insights, provide inspiration through what we've all been able to accomplish. And like you already mentioned, like help others avoid the mistakes that we all made. And it's in our heart, I think, all of our hearts, to help agents create financial independence, financial freedom, whatever you want to call it, so that they can eventually just get off that transaction treadmill, or at least slow down a little bit. I know when we were all selling at a high level, it was like you had to sacrifice some things. And I think agents sacrifice too much for too long. And it can destroy marriages. It can destroy relationships with your kids. It's like, we only have this one life, and to spend 20, 30 years in a career where you're just grinding 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and then not even have anything to retire on, that's really sad. So we think the content that we're putting out and what we've all been able to accomplish and help others accomplish is the solution to that tragedy of the real estate industry. It's broken, and it's our mission to fix it. And I think we're off to a good start.
I think it's
Awesome.
also going to help too in this market that we're in too, right? So everything's going to feel very fast to people right now, as people maybe haven't been doing the right things in their business, and all of a sudden the market's going to expose those areas. It's going to feel very fast to people that are in the field trying to make it work, trying to make ends meet. And I think our coming together stories are really unique in the sense that they're all very different. Lars being in corporate America already, AJ, you kind of having a clear path before you step foot in the industry, me kind of falling into the industry. We all have very unique stories, but the three of us are extremely aligned when it comes to what our impact and purpose is, and also how we're leveraging our real estate businesses for our families and for our neighborhoods and our organizations. But right now it's going to feel dire and it's going to feel urgent. So I think us doing this weekly show, talking about what is going on out there in real times from three different perspectives, is going to really help people.
Yeah, and I'll add one, and I'll kind of steal this from AJ. When I built my business, I built it with two freedoms in mind, specifically two freedoms. So it was, I learned early on that if you're a busy agent, you don't have time. So you're working evenings and weekends. You're working when you don't want to work. And you may have financial, not even freedom, right? Because you're the only person. It's kind of like real estate. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a gym where they have those treadmills that are a little bit curved, but they have no motor. And so they only move if you are, and they're hard to freaking move. Like you can kill yourself on this, like feels like 1,000,000 pounds that you're trying to, that's real estate. If you get off of the real estate transaction treadmill, the thing stops and there's no money coming in. So I chose the path of systems and leverage, and how can I, delegate, so I can make leveraged income, but certainly not anywhere close to passive or residual, right? Because then you've got more people in your life. But the third freedom, and this is what I was a little bit stubborn on, we've sort of been in each other's worlds for, probably 10 years, going on 10 years, something like that. I didn't quite get the third one, is location freedom. So John said it, we're going to help you guys get through this market. And this is going to be the kind of market, NAR, National Association of Realtors, they themselves say that 30% of the roster won't exist. So 1 out of 3 agents won't be in business. It may be a little bit worse than that. So we're going to help you tactically get through all that, even in this launch episode. But that,
Lars, too, it's also worth mentioning, there's no shame in that. Like you and I were tagged on a communication this morning, and somebody who's extremely successful in real estate is saying this is one of the hardest periods I've ever gone through. So, I think that we can't have our head in the sand about it, and that we got to get really proactive right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll just drop the third freedom. So the big vision we have for folks that kind of get a little bit more into our world is that there is time freedom, there is money freedom, and ultimately, and to John's point, it may not be today, but we want you guys to have a vision where there is location freedom, where you don't have to be just like on vacation working deals or sweating that you're losing income because you're taking vacations. So that's the big picture vision for this channel. Everything that Real Estate Game Changer stands for is time freedom, money freedom, and location freedom. So we're going to guide you guys there. And there will be a bunch of turbulence between now and then if you're in production the next couple of years. All right, so let's get into, let's talk about the mistakes that you guys are seeing agents make. These could be mistakes that you made coming up in the Great Recession years in business, or agents in your organization that are coming to you, and like what mistakes maybe specific to this market or in general are you seeing agents make as they say they want to grow, but maybe they're not growing?
Yeah, I'll jump on that. So I think what I'm going to say applies always, but it's even more important right now in the market that we're in. And that's just getting back to the basics, sticking to the basics. And what basics am I talking about? Creating habits, specifically lead generation. If you're not prospecting or lead generating for 1 to 3 hours every single day as an agent right now, you're really going to struggle. The agents, that 30% that are going to be erased from the roster that Lars is talking about, those are simply going to be the agents that are not proactively lead generating, having new sales conversations every single day, building a pipeline. They're going to be wiped out. And that's good news for you that's going to take action on this information by building that habit today, because you're going to be one of the 70% that stays. And I think over the market that we've had the last few years, maybe agents got a little lazy, just kind of thought, well, hey, people are calling me, my phone's ringing, I don't need to prospect like I was. And they're just kind of coasting. And I always think of it like getting to the gym. Over the past 6 months, I've retaken my health journey. It's kind of been like this over the years, that roller coaster. And man, getting back into it sucked. Like, I was sore for like 4 days after that first workout back. I didn't want to go the second time. It was just awful. It was painful. It was miserable. But now I like it again. In fact, I love it. I'm going to work out after this call. And it's something I'm motivated to do. It feels good. I'm getting results. It's the same thing with prospecting. If you've never done it, prospecting, lead generation, I use those interchangeably. Getting back into it, if you've been a little soft, you got a little fat over the last few years as a real estate agent, getting back into it's going to be tough. If you've never done it, getting into it's going to be tough. You're probably going to suck at it for a little while. You're not going to like it, but eventually you're going to get better at it. You're going to start to like it because you're seeing the results, you're building confidence, and you're going to be crushing it when other agents are suffering. So I think just getting back to the basics and building good habits.
What are you going to do in Breckenridge next week when we're skiing? What are we going to do to keep up that workout regimen, AJ?
So I what was this saying? I do what I preach or whatever. I don't know. I was talking to my fitness coach yesterday about the trip in Breckenridge next week about that. And because I'm counting macros right now, I'm hitting the gym 4 days a week. I'm getting my 8,000 to 10,000 steps every day. And I haven't yet committed, because I told him, I was like, we're going to some great restaurants that I love to go to. Breckenridge is an annual trip for our family. And we've shared many experiences there, all of us. So I basically told him I'm not going to go all out like the three of us did in Jackson Hole a couple months ago. So I'm not going all out.
Dude, that was the best mac and cheese I've ever had.
Best mac and cheese. Best everything I had at the we were at a resort snowmobiling, not a resort, but like a cabin in the middle of nowhere, snowmobiling a few months ago. So that's what I'm referring to. So I basically told him, which I'm still gonna stay on track, but also give myself some leeway to enjoy some food. So I have a coach for fitness, and just like we've all had coaches in real estate, coaching is another thing that everyone should have is a coach. It's crucial.
Well, I would echo what you said. I mean, I think that we have a false sense of activity this day and age, more so than any time in my 20 plus year journey in real estate. Like, we think we're doing the things that we need to do, and we're busy, but we're not busy doing the things that we need to do. So like, I would echo what you said, but also add on, like, okay, so maybe you're approaching it, AJ, from what an agent needs to hear. The mistake that I've made in the past is, as a team leader, thinking that I can motivate my sales force, therefore my agents, to do the activity that's required. And there's certain things I can do to help that. I can certainly have the right metrics and KPIs and hold them accountable. But if I'm not actually stepping into it with them and showing them what real prospecting looks like, I can't expect them to do what I'm unwilling to do. So looking back over my time as a team leader, when we were the most successful as a company, it was because I was in there doing what I expected them to do as well, and they were following suit. So we have to be that thermometer. We have to set the bar for what activity looks like. Otherwise, everybody's just not going to do enough. Think about this. What Lars said is absolutely true. Like, we'll lose 30% of the real estate roster across North America in the next 12 to 24 months. So with that being true, think about how desperate people get when they're just about to lose their career. So, these are people that have bills, have mortgages, have car payments, have a lifestyle that they've been enjoying for the last 2, 4, 10 years as this market just continued to go up. And now all of a sudden they're about to lose all that. Expect that it's going to be very difficult, say now, for the next 6 to 12 months. And you're going to have to do not only average or above average work ethic, but you're going to have to be so far above average that people are scared to even compete with you. And I think that's the level of activity and intensity that we have to be at to make it through this storm. And it's not going to be like, well, you can make it through a little bit or you can make it through a lot. It's either you're going to make it through and come way out on the other side of this thing and benefit like you've never benefited in any other period of your career, or you're going to lose. There's going to be no in between as I see it.
Yeah, and I'll kind of echo what both of you guys said. So in terms of, you know, the mistakes that I see agents making right now, they're out of the game. They're taking themselves out of the game before it even starts. So I'll ask an agent, you know, they'll say, man, there's just no inventory. And I'll say, so what have you done in the last 90 days to generate listings in your business? And the answer is there's no inventory. And it's like, you know, they're not doing the things that are required. So there's just 3 things that I think every agent needs to do to be successful in any market. And you may have to double or triple down on these few things in this market. But specifically, you know, you've got to make a commitment. Specifically, John mentioned KPIs, key performance indicators. So you have to make a commitment around the number of meaningful conversations that you're going to have every day. A 2-way conversation with a decision-making adult about real estate. And every one of those conversations has to end with, you know, AJ, before I let you go, who do you know that has talked about selling their home, that you think might want to sell their home, an attorney you know that might work with, you know, or a financial advisor that you might connect me with, like an obsession with finding the next listing. Every day, your goal is to find a listing. So if you're not, and I think AJ mentioned it in using the physical body example, if you have no muscle around lead generation, having 5 meaningful conversations a day is going to exhaust you. You're going to be like, I can't believe I did that. I don't know if I could do it. You know, I might need 3 days to recuperate from those 5 conversations. Just set the bar at 5 conversations every day, and then you'll build a muscle and you'll be able to increase it to 10 to 15 to 20. The reality is it takes X number of conversations to set a listing appointment or a buyer consultation. And if you're not, you know, even in that game, you've got no chance of succeeding. And it sounds a little, you know, brutal. Our job here in Real Estate Game Changers is to help you guys not only get through this shift, but to obliterate the shift where you're going to increase your income when most agents are going out of the business. And then when it comes back around, you're going to be able to take off from there. The last thing I'll say on this topic, and then I want to ask you guys another question, is tracking, you know, and it doesn't have to be complicated. If all you track are meaningful conversations on a blank piece of paper every day, you put the date, and did I have a 2-way conversation with a decision-making adult today? And I asked the question, who do you know that might be looking to sell their home? Specifically, who do you know? You know, and that to me is the leadingest indicator of success in these next 12, 18, 24, maybe even 36 months before all of the crap kind of works its way through the market. All right, guys, I'm going to ask you a question that what are you guys doing? Or maybe what did you do back in the day? And it may apply to some of the FUD that we're seeing now. But a lot of agents are getting wrapped up in the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that is just propagated by every news outlet, politics aside. Every news outlet is getting you to click or watch or whatever based on something that induces a level of fear, uncertainty, doubt. That's how all the news works. What advice would you give for agents that are caught up in that cycle and it's getting them off of the game of real estate, you know, where they're in a negative mindset? And any advice that you guys would have? AJ, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it's really, you know, sticking on the fitness analogy. And I remember what I was trying to say earlier, practice what you preach would be the saying that I was going for earlier. It's what you put in your body. It's so what you put in your mind. If you're eating junk food all the time, you know, drinking every day, you're just going to get fat. You're going to have low energy. If you're constantly feeding your mind with negative news, toxic information, you're going to start to have maybe some fear about what's going to happen with your sales career. You're going to have some doubt. But if you're constantly feeding it with good things like great podcasts, great content like this, surrounding yourself with the right people who are positive and uplifting, you're going to have a strong mindset. And going back to tracking the conversations like Lars was talking about, when you also track your numbers and you can just see in black and white what your numbers are, like, hey, if I have 30 conversations with sellers, I'm going to set one listing appointment. And if I set 2 listing appointments, I'm going to get 1 sale. When you have that data, and that's the data that you can track on your own, or you can have a coach that's going to help you track it using maybe some software, or heck, even, you know, a yellow pad, you can track it. It's confidence building, and it's things like that that are really important. I think tracking is huge. Over the last couple of years, I've really gotten into tracking my passive income streams, my net worth, and the first of every month, I do that, and I do it manually. I enjoy it. I like it. I like to see those numbers grow. And for me, going into an uncertain market, whether it be uncertain stock market, real estate market, you know, the world seems like it's going crazy when you turn on the news. It's reassuring to know that my financial house is in order and it's growing because I'm tracking it. If I wasn't tracking it, there would be uncertainty there, and there should be, because if you're not tracking something, you cannot with some certainty know the direction it's headed, whether it's on the scale or in your finances, in your real estate business. So hopefully I didn't take all the answers, because I think my answer was really good. But I'll let you take a stab at it, John.
Man, it just takes me back to you know, the last time we had this fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you know, has to take us back to the last recession. And, you know, when I was working in that time, my wife and I were expecting, and I just had to get intensely focused. And I think when you really analyze your thoughts, and if you're in fear, uncertainty, or doubt right now, like all of that's rooted in your past or in the future, but it's certainly not in the present. And if you can get so intensely focused on what is it that you can do, control the controllables today, that's going to help you move your business forward, and make that your whole focus. Like, you shouldn't be on the news. You shouldn't be on social media. You should be so busy doing what your business demands of you right now that you can't think about the past or focus on the future. You just have to be rooted in those activities that are going to get you out of the hole that you're in, or get you to the other side of that, you know, mountain that you're trying to climb. So, you know, right, what is that for you right now? Like, only you can answer that. When I was in 2008 turmoil, you know, it was like, okay, I got to figure short sales out. And I'm like the least detailed guy on the planet. And I try to be least detailed guy on the planet going through short sales. And it's just like, it's awful, right? But if there's a will, there's a way. So I found somebody who was willing to kind of do the back end detail work. And all I had to do was go get more and put them in the hopper. And, you know, I remember going to it was like a cocktail party thing for my chiropractor. And she had just launched a new business, and she was in her own fear, uncertainty, and doubt. She's like, I'm going to throw this cocktail party. We're going to get people, and hopefully I'll get clients from it. And I was there, and people were like, what do you do? And I'm like, I do real estate. And, you know, just putting myself out there and trying to find the next deal that hopefully wasn't a short sale. And I remember just the looks on people's faces where they were like, man, like they felt sorry for me. And I'm like, don't feel sorry for me. I have 10 closings on Friday. I'm a little nervous because 8 of them are short sales, but I have 10 on the books for Friday. So it's like, if you just, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, it's not like you're going to incrementally work your way out of the situation and beat the pack. You're going to massively work your way out of this and beat the pack by a landslide. And there's going to be so much opportunity if you'll take that level of intensity and focus into your real estate business. And will it be uncomfortable, to your analogy of fitness? Absolutely. But all growth is uncomfortable at first. And it's like this notion, this idea that like, you can do this. There's people that have done it. There's people that will coach you and hold you accountable. But if you're not willing to get honest with yourself and take a hard look at what you're doing or not doing, then it's probably always going to evade you. You have to be really serious and be able to focus down on what that is.
So good. Well, you know, when I think of this conversation of, you know, the fear, uncertainty, doubt, and the things that you're getting involved in that they're not leading you closer to the meaningful goals you've set for yourself. So the first thing I think of is like, where do you want to be 3 years from now? We're going to go through some crap between now and 3 years from now. But if you can wave a magic wand, what do you want your life to look like 3 years from now? That might be the thing that helps you do the things you don't want to do on a daily basis. You know, so a 3-year vision, and break it down into what do I need to do today to be that person I want to be 3 years from now. And then just one more thing that comes up is, as hearing you guys kind of walk through it, it's kind of like this vicious cycle versus like what a virtuous cycle could look like. What you're talking about, keeping yourself in a good mind space and ignoring the news, monitoring the time that you're on social media. That's a virtuous cycle that will lead you, to do the activities required to be successful. And then you'll have 10 closings on a Friday. And agents that just got out of the business will be like, man, I don't know how you're doing it. You must be sucking wind right now. But no, I'm crushing it because I just refuse to accept that the status quo is going to be my outcome in this industry. But then you have this vicious cycle, which is, and I actually experienced it a little bit. I was really out of the news for probably 12 years or so. But when you start to plug in to anyone that is sort of like doom and gloom, like let's take the potential that the US economy is weakening on a global scale. You could find 100 people that will tell you today that our dollar will be useless tomorrow, right? And all the dollars you have, you might as well run to the bank, turn them into gold, bury it in your backyard. But they've been saying that for 50 years, right? So, but there are a lot of agents, and it may be different. For you, it might be social media, and like, I like social media, or Netflix is probably the best, worst thing you can do, right? Because all of those productions are awesome. But you need to figure out the thing that is this vicious cycle that is not having you achieve the thing you set out to achieve. And one visual that I see is like, you guys know, some horses have to run with blinders. They get spooked by not all horses, but some horses have to run with blinders because when they see the horses next to them, they're not able to run their race. And I liken it to real estate agents that are like water cooler talk, and they're like commiserating about how crappy the market is, or they're talking to their family members that are like, man, the market must suck. Like, I hear all the headlines and you're like, yeah, the market sucks. I'm not doing anything. You need to keep your blinders on and just be focused on like what you can do today to impact your business. I think AJ said it, and regardless of what your faith is, the serenity prayer is massively powerful. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So you cannot change. If you don't believe in God, don't worry about that part, but hear it. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I cannot change, the fact that Russia is in Ukraine. I cannot change the global influences that China as a, upcoming superpower can have. I cannot change Trump being indicted. You could list 1,000 things, but the wisdom to know the difference, right, is the key. So that is my wish for everyone, is just to focus on the things that you can control today that will, in your physical body, in your relationships, in your business, and take that time seriously that you put into your business. Because if you're sort of willy-nilly during the day, you're probably working in evenings and weekends when you probably don't even have to in a lot of cases. All right. So I think we've done a good job on that one, and we've got a little bit of time left. This is a little bit of a lightning round. I want to ask you guys, so what app or like bit of technology or like tool do you guys use on a regular basis that you think anyone watching or listening can benefit from?
I was looking at that question. We actually had some show notes, an agenda to cover on this call. Might surprise some of our audience. And man, I'm in this like phase right now where it's like less. Just kind of trying to delete the apps off my phone. And the only app that I probably would not delete would be my YouTube app. And I'll just share why it's important for me and why I think agents can benefit. So you can be distracted, of course, on YouTube. And one thing I just want to mention real quick with the idea of this fear, uncertainty, doubt, if you kind of flip that and look at it from a different perspective, like that can be your edge right now if you choose it. Because the agents right now that you're competing with, they're watching the news like when you pass a car accident. Everyone's rubbernecking to look at the accident. That's what they do with the news. And then their world, their environment becomes that. So if you just stick with the right content, you'll get your unfair share through a market like we're in right now. But the YouTube app. So the way I recommend you use it is downloads. So for YouTube Premium, it's like $15 a month. Pay for it. The benefit you get is no commercials. You can listen to the app, listen to YouTube videos while the app is closed. So you can be working out, you can be driving, you can be on a different app while YouTube's playing in the background. Like I'll be doing something on my phone with YouTube in the background, so still getting the content. I'll be working out with YouTube on, I'll be driving with YouTube on. That's a cool feature. The downloads, so you can watch YouTube videos on the plane. Don't just take the 3-hour plane, the flight to just watch, what the newest shows are, the newest movies. Have the content that you're trying to consume to get better pre-downloaded for that flight. I love to do that. It's a great time to consume great content, to journal, to think using specific content. That's also a great way if you struggle with getting distracted on YouTube. Just download the specific content you want to watch and only stick to your downloads. That's where I'm really getting information on everything right now. It's a great way to ask questions. Whatever question you have, if you put it in YouTube, you'll find someone that can answer that question in a really good way. So that's the app I'm loving right now. My only warning would be just don't get too distracted by it, because suggested videos can be really good. But for the most part, if you're searching the right stuff, the suggested videos will actually be really helpful. You'll be exposed to new creators, new thought processes, new information that will really help you. Just make sure you also, guard, put those blinders on if you're the horse that needs it, and just be mindful opening that app and getting into it if that's you.
Awesome, John. How about you, John?
Yeah, that's good stuff, AJ. That YouTube is super powerful. You basically have on-demand expertise wherever you go. I have a guilty pleasure when it comes to apps right now that probably only my wife knows at this point, and now the whole world's going to know.
Juicy.
But I'm addicted to the Zillow app. And the reason I love the Zillow app is because, unlike, maybe your real estate app that you have in your local market, this is like every market, right? So we spent a year and a half traveling the country, and I fell in love with a couple different markets. I want to get a place down in Alice Beach in Florida. And so I have like these different markets that I track, where I came from back home, where I was doing real estate in North Carolina. And dude, I just love it. And I think what it speaks to is, as real estate agents, it's super important that you're an expert on your market. And although I haven't sold real estate in a number of years personally, like if I go out into my town in Bozeman, like I probably know the inventory better than the agents that are selling real estate. Because when it comes to downtown Bozeman, I know every single property. I know why it's good. I know when it comes up before the agents do. Like I just know it. And it's that app on my phone that keeps me connected to that market. So probably a little bit of a waste of time for me, but what I would impress upon you if you're listening to this is like, all the things that you can do right are important, but if you're not a market expert, then like, why should somebody want to buy or sell with you? Like, be the market expert.
Dude, I'm right there with you on the Zillow app, man. There's like 3 markets I check every single day manually, and then there's 6, 7 markets I check once a week. So I always got to do like last 7 days for those markets to see the new listings. But there's like 3 markets. It's like last 1 day for new listings, and I'm just like, boom, expert on those markets. It's fun. I love it.
That's awesome. So it probably won't surprise these guys what my favorite. I do have my home screen has 16 apps on it, so I keep it super tidy. I have like 9 favorite apps. So I would say, and this is going to feed into the next question I have for you guys, to start thinking about your the book you would recommend to agents right now. But there's an app called Strides. So it's one of those habit tracker apps where I just haven't been able to achieve anything. And AJ, you turned us on to Habit Share as well. So it's a version of that.
Okay.
Which I even like that one a little bit better, because you can share habits with an accountability partner. But in general, a habit tracking app, so I've got, sleep 7.5 hours, weigh myself every day, drink a healthy shake, take my vitamins, read Bible and meditate, 20+ minute workout every day, infrared sauna, drink a gallon of water, no cheat meals, and 5-minute journal. So those are my daily habits. If I do all of those, I don't have any business habits in there. I probably need to commit to my to a few there in one of the businesses that we're involved in. But if I do those things every day, like I just know I've had a good day, and I have not been able to achieve anything in any business, in any area of my life that didn't involve an underlying habit. And the book, and maybe I'll choose a different book for the next question, but the book Atomic Habits, we all are the result of our habits, good or bad. So using the fitness example, if you're 50 pounds overweight and you can't, run a mile, you're just the result of habits. It's not like your defamation of character, or you're a bad person, or it's none of that. It's just the habits that you put in place. They've just become a part of the way you operate it, and it's led you to a place where you're probably not where you want to be physically, right? You can't play with your kids. You have no energy left at the end of the day because you're not putting good habits in place. So that some kind of habit tracking app, I think, is going to be like almost mandatory if you want to succeed. And maybe they're just like 3 or 4 things that you're tracking in business. But anyway, so that's my favorite. But let's shift gears here. We've got a few minutes. What is a book? Not like the best book you've ever read about business, but as we're looking at this market, this time, what's a book that every agent that listens or watches this episode should be reading right now?
You want to go first on this one, John?
Yeah, I think it's not sexy, but it's necessary, right? And for me, that book that every agent needs to read or reread would be Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. And, the reality is this, guys, we're probably going to sell 4.5 million homes this year. And the last time we sold 4.5 million homes was in 2012, and we had about 950,000 agents. Right now, we have 1.6 million agents. That means less for everybody. And if you're not doubling down on prospecting, I think you're going to get eaten alive.
Yeah. It's good, man. I love it. I was hoping you were going to take mine, and you didn't, which was good. Let's see if I can see in the bookshelf behind you if you got it up there. I don't know.
What's yours?
Mine's Willpower. Willpower Doesn't Work. Benjamin Hardy. I figured you got it.
That's a good one, baby.
That book showed up in my mailbox before I took my RV trip around the world, like a few months beforehand. Actually, from Joe Polish Genius Network, I must have signed up for their mailing list or something at some point, and they just mailed it to me. And I was like, never even heard of Benjamin Hardy. Now he's one of my favorite authors, but a great book. But I pulled up one of the quotes from the book that I think is just a really good thing to be thinking about now and always. It says, if we do not create and control our environment creates and controls us. Short story. The only other real estate brokerage I've been with prior to joining EXP 6 years ago was Keller Williams. Had a great experience there, great company. However, when I was in that office, that bricks and mortar office, the environment that was, I guess, existing wasn't one that energized me, wasn't one that inspired me, motivated me. And I actually made the decision to take on additional expense, moved out of that office and got an office for my team like next door. And that was the best thing I could have done because it allowed me and my team to create our own environment, one that was inspiring, fun, empowering. And I think that's just crucial. It's a great book. Essentially, Willpower Doesn't Work. The title says it all. But the detail and the strategies and the tips that it gives you on how to create the best environment is really, really good. So that's part of the reason why we created Real Estate Game Changers, because we want to create that environment for agents that inspires, pushes them. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and we're always mindful of that and always looking to level up the people that we surround ourselves with. So that's mine.
Awesome. And I will I've already mentioned Atomic Habits, which I think is the best. And there's a quote from Atomic Habits that I think says it all. It's every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to become. And we're simply the result of the choices we make with our time and the habits that we've let infiltrate our everyday. But it also gives me a little bit of a cheat here with Audible. It's probably really my best favorite app. Being able to listen to a book on Audible. I know you guys have you like to read books, but I use this.
Love hate.
Yeah, I love it. It's but I've listened to Atomic Habits probably 5 or 6 times. I listen to it when I'm trying to crack the code on a certain area of my life, and I listen to it through that lens. So now I'm going back through it. I'm like, why am I back at my upper weight? like I'm 190 to 215 is
You have
sort
to
of,
start 75 hard again.
yeah. I mean, I don't know that I'll do that insanity, but so I'm reading it through that lens. So like, what habits have I allowed to infiltrate, this part of my life, where I'm good on other things. I've given up alcohol, I've given up caffeine, but I still, consume calories too late and all of that crap. So, and then the book, one more, I'll just throw it in there. Compound Effect is along the lines of like Willpower Doesn't Work, Atomic Habits. Compound Effect was probably the first book like that. So good. Where I think, and we've all seen him live, Darren Hardy, where I think it's Zig Ziglar has the quote like, being successful in anything, something like this is like, where you're manually pumping water,
Yeah.
so you have to pump really hard. No water is coming out, right? When you work out today, you're not going to be buff and 30 pounds lighter, right? So, but you keep doing it, you keep pumping the well, and then you're getting in shape along the way. Water's coming out, and then it's just maintenance mode. Same in business, same with prospecting, same with maintaining your physical body, being close to your creator, whatever it is, same in your marriage, whatever you want it to be. It's those little actions over time that are going to get you there. Guys, this has been awesome. We are at the hour. I think we pulled it off for our first episode. The goal here, just for everyone, so you know, is weekly. The intention is this same time block weekly, at least once a week. Next week's going to be super squirrely. We will get an episode done next week somehow. But this 1 o'clock time zone, at least 2 of the 3 of us will be here. We have pretty insane, pretty cool travel schedules. So we'll do our best to get here and add as much value as possible. Any parting thoughts, guys?
Well,
we're looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, next week I'll share a book that I'm reading, not one for agents. So I'm going to blow your minds with this one.
Awesome.
Nice. Let's
go.
go.
Next episode.
See ya.
See ya.